I walked in with flowers. She was on all fours, moaning like an animal, not for me. Our couch, our throw blanket, her favorite wine half drunk on the table. My chest burned, but I didn't yell. I just watched. Because the real surprise was still coming. The office lights were flickering overhead, stale coffee cooling on my desk when I made the decision. Just one of those dumb, hopeful impulses. I'd swing by home early, grab dinner on the way, surprise her with something warm. I even smiled. That was the last time I remember smiling like that. Traffic was light for once. A break in the clouds after a week of rain. I remember thinking that was a good sign. It wasn't. The door wasn't locked. That should have told me something. Ashley always locked it, even if she was just in the shower. But I walked in like a goddamn sitcom husband, holding Thai takeout and 2 beers, whistling some tune I forgot the second it happened. I heard it before I saw it. A sharp sound, not pain. Not struggle. A moan, wet and low, stretched out like a string being pulled too tight. Then another. Then his voice. Deep, amused, territorial. I couldn't move for a second. Just stood there, feet planted in the foyer, staring at the family photos on the wall. One from our wedding. Her smile was so wide in that shot, her hands pulling my face toward hers like she couldn't believe she had me. The food hit the floor. I didn't even register it. I walked forward. Past the entryway. Past the stairs. Her heels were near the couch, one tipped over like it had been kicked off in a rush. The living room was dim, only a single lamp glowing. But it was enough. Enough to see her bare back, arched. His hands gripping her waist. The rhythm. The sounds. The betrayal sinking in like poison. She didn't see me. Not at first. I didn't speak. I just stood there. The takeout bag had leaked, red curry seeping out like blood on the hardwood. When she turned, her eyes met mine. She froze. He didn't. Not until she gasped, that breathless little Mark. I didn't answer. I walked out. Quiet. Controlled. I drove somewhere, I don't even know where. Ended up parked in front of a CVS, hands gripping the wheel until my knuckles hurt. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat. Thinking. The thing is, Ashley wasn't the kind of woman you expected this from. She was PTA polished, smoothie for breakfast, bookmarked marriage blogs. She talked about emotional labor and posted about healthy communication. But what I saw on that couch, that wasn't health. That was hunger. The kind she never showed me. That's when the question started. How long had this been going on? Who the hell was he? And why in our home, like I was nothing but a ghost to her? I didn't want to confront her. Not yet. I wanted to know. Everything. Because one thing became clear while I sat in that parking lot, she didn't just cheat. She made me the fool. And I wasn't going to rage about it. I was going to study it. Map it. Bleed it out in daylight. But first, I needed to get back inside without waking the snake. I had things to find. Clues to trace. And she had no idea the men she moaned under had just broken her world in silence. I waited until nearly 3 a.m. before I walked back into that house. The lights were off. One of her heels was still where I'd seen it earlier, like a crime scene marker that hadn't been collected. The other had been moved. She was tidy like that, even after betrayal, she had the presence of mind to clean around the mess. I didn't step heavy. I didn't turn on a single light. Just walked up the stairs slow, each one creaking the same way they had for years. Muscle memory. Ritual. Our bedroom door was cracked open, barely. I didn't look inside. I wasn't ready to see her curled around a lie. Instead, I walked into the guest room, the one she never liked because of the draft. Slept on the edge of the mattress with my fists balled under the pillow. Slept isn't the word. I closed my eyes. I kept seeing her back. The way she sounded with him. Morning came, slow and blue. I got up, showered, dressed, and walked into the kitchen like nothing happened. She was already there. Hair damp, Her robe tied loose. She was slicing strawberries, like she hadn't spent the night moaning under another man in our living room. "Hey," she said, "too bright. You came in late." I nodded. Took a mug from the shelf. Poured coffee. "Rough day," she added. The lie wrapped in concern. She even touched my arm like she used to, like I was still hers. I sipped. Watched her hands move, fast and delicate, like she was performing normalcy. She dropped one of the strawberry ends, and I watched it fall to the floor. She didn't pick it up. "You okay?" she asked, cocking her head. I looked at her. Really looked. The skin under her eyes was rawer than usual. A scratch, thin but visible, traced the top of her collarbone. "I'm fine," I said. She smiled, the kind people give when they think they've gotten away with something. That smile said she believed in my ignorance more than she ever believed in our vows. I took the day off. Told her I needed rest. She left for her morning yoga class, kissed my cheek like a woman with a clean conscience. I watched her walk out, close the door. I gave it 5 minutes. Then I went to work. First, the couch cushions, still slightly dented from where it happened. A faint scent. Cologne that wasn't mine. I pulled them apart. Nothing. Then the laundry hamper in our bathroom. Her robe from the night before wasn't there. Just a silk cami she hadn't worn in months. Still damp. Still warm. I checked the trash under the sink. Empty. Too empty. I opened the medicine cabinet, she'd reorganized it last week, said it was cluttered. Her birth control pack was gone. That detail sat wrong in my gut. We weren't trying, but she kept it in the same drawer, always. Suddenly missing. Not a coincidence. Then came her phone. She always left it in the charging dock in the kitchen, face down, silenced. I picked it up, tapped the screen. Password locked. Not new. But the background had changed. Used to be us in Yosemite. Now it was a generic sunset. Something was unraveling under the surface. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I started watching instead. She got a new gym bag. Different brand. Different scent. She started showering at strange hours, leaving the room to take client calls with her AirPods in. And then there was the car, hers, not mine. I found a single receipt shoved into the side door pocket. 2 drinks. 1 appetizer. Friday night. She said she was at her sister's. It was a bar I knew. The pieces were scattering. And I was done playing husband. I was becoming something else. Something patient. Something cold. The next 2 weeks moved like a quiet hunt. I didn't change a thing in my routine. Still kissed her cheek in the mornings. Still asked about her day over dinner. Still let her spin her little stories, like nothing had ever happened. She thought I'd gone soft. Numb. Maybe even stupid. But every moment with her was a clue. Every lie, another layer peeling back. I started keeping notes. Not on paper, not in my phone, just patterns. Memorized. Tracked. Cross-referenced. You learn a lot when you stop reacting. When you start watching like a man with nothing to lose. She began slipping in small ways. Lazy lies. She said she was meeting her friend Marcy for lunch. I knew Marcy had moved to Denver 6 months ago. Claimed she was helping her mom with tech stuff. Her mom has arthritis and still uses a flip phone. Then came the gym clothes, they started showing up folded in the hamper, perfectly clean, unworn. No sweat, no scent. She wasn't working out. But she kept posting gym selfies, same mirror, same lighting, same recycled outfit. She was ghostwriting her own alibi. But what started to haunt me wasn't just the physical signs. It was the tone shift. She got nicer. Not real nice. Not love. Just, softened. Cooked more. Laughed at my bad jokes. Rubbed my shoulder in the kitchen while I was slicing onions. As if somewhere, under the layers of deceit, there was a version of her that still remembered who we were. That scared me more than the sex sounds. because when people cheat, they usually pull away. Guilt makes distance. But she was trying to rebuild something on top of a lie, like if she loved me hard enough, she could bury the truth under routine. Or worse, maybe she just didn't care. Maybe it was all control. I tested it once. I said, I've been thinking about us. Maybe doing a weekend trip. Just us. Her eyes flicked. Micro-expression. Not panic, calculation. That sounds nice, she said, smiling. I'll have to check with the salon schedule. She never checked. The weekend came and went. She got a last-minute bridal booking. Worked both days. I stayed home. Watched her location history on the shared family laptop. She didn't know it synced. At 3:14 p.m. on Saturday, she was nowhere near the salon. She was at a hotel off I-90. I zoomed in. Room entrance on the back side. Discreet. No security cameras on the lot. The same hotel she and I had stayed at once, early in the marriage, before life got complicated. I closed the tab. Didn't scream. Didn't shake. Just let it settle. She didn't just cheat. She used pieces of our life to do it. The sex. The hotels. The timing. The kindness. All ripped from our history and reassembled with someone else. I started looking at her like a stranger. A well-rehearsed performance in the skin of a woman I once loved. She wore the same perfume. Used the same mug. Still called me babe with a light touch to my shoulder. But now, every time she touched me, I flinched. Not because of what she did, but because I could finally feel how hollow it was. She wasn't just a cheating wife. She was a liar wrapped in domestic habits. And the worst part? I think she believed I'd never notice. That's when I decided, I wouldn't just catch her. I'd make sure the truth ate everything she'd built, her image, her comfort, her fallback plans. She gave me silence. I'd return the favor. Louder. There's a moment in every lie where it starts to rot from the inside, when even the liar starts tripping over their own script. For Ashley, it began with the green scarf. It was silk, expensive. A boutique piece I bought her in Chicago 2 years ago. She wore it twice, maybe 3 times. One night, it showed back up, draped over the arm of the living room chair like it had been tossed mid-motion. But that wasn't her. She never left things out. Not expensive ones. I picked it up. The scent hit me immediately. Not hers. Not mine. Cologne. Musky, sharper than anything I owned. Foreign. I didn't say a word. Just folded it, set it on the counter, and left it there. A little trap. That night, she spotted it. Oh, she said, reaching for it. I've been looking everywhere for this. She didn't even blink. I watched her twist it between her fingers, nostrils flaring just slightly. I knew she smelled it. Knew she recognized that wasn't me. But she didn't flinch. Just smiled, tied it around her neck, and moved on. Like lies were oxygen now, automatic. Later that week, she started talking about therapy. Said she wanted us to reconnect, maybe dig into our patterns. I nodded. Let her pick the therapist. Watched her set up the first appointment. I looked him up. Divorced. Reputation for protecting women's emotional spaces. She played her hand early. She wasn't going to fix this. She was going to flip it. Preemptively frame me as the emotionally unavailable one. Start stacking the deck. We went. Sat in a softly lit room with herbal tea and fake empathy. She cried within 5 minutes. Talked about feeling alone, how I pulled away. I nodded through it all, let the therapist write his notes. I could see the angle forming. If this exploded, she'd point back to this room and say she tried. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I studied her tells. The way she squeezed her wrist when she lied. The way her voice softened when she framed herself as the victim. The way she glanced sideways to make sure I was swallowing it. But she wasn't the only one preparing for war. I started tracking her. Not with GPS, too obvious. With behavior. Every Wednesday she got home late. Said the salon had double bookings. But her hair always looked perfect, makeup never smudged. No one doing real work in a salon looks like they're stepping off a photo shoot at 9:15 p.m. I planted a tiny Bluetooth tracker in the lining of her gym bag. Not GPS. Just proximity-based. My phone would ping when it was near, and when it left. That night, she forgot the bag at home. Took a different one. She was adapting. She knew I was shifting. Maybe not how much, but enough to tighten her stories. Then came the near miss. We were lying in bed. Her phone buzzed. She was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth. I looked. Only for a second. The notification flashed, "See you at the same spot, gorgeous. Can't stop thinking about last time." No name. Just a number. Deleted thread. She came back seconds later. I put the phone down before she saw. But something in her shifted. She paused. Looked at me too long. Like she sensed I'd seen something. "You good?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." We both knew that was a lie. But neither of us called it out. It was a Cold War now. Secrets and silence. I wasn't just suspicious. I was methodical. Surgical. She wasn't just cheating. She was escalating. And I knew one thing for certain: when people start to sense they're being watched, they either go quiet, or they get reckless. Ashley. She was about to get reckless. And I was ready to record every second of it. I didn't need a smoking gun. I needed a pattern. A string of facts she couldn't twist into a sob story. The moment it became real wasn't some Hollywood confrontation, it was a spreadsheet. I started with dates. Every time she said she had a bridal booking, a yoga retreat, or a late-night client blowout, I logged it. Then I pulled her calendar off our shared iCloud. She'd forgotten it synced across devices. That was the first real crack. Because there were blocks marked self-care that overlapped with receipts I pulled from her purse, Uber rides, coffee stops, one suspicious charge to a place listed as RM Enterprises. When I looked that up. A shell name for a private rental suite. Hourly. She wasn't even trying to hide it well. The key was triangulation. I pulled photos from her social media and ran reverse image checks. Found two that weren't hers. Backgrounds lifted from Pinterest. She used those to fake being at spa days. That was where I got clever. She still used our iPad. Claimed it was for Pinterest boards and Netflix in the bath. What she forgot was that I'd once helped her set up the Messages app on it, syncing through her iCloud login. She never unsynced it. She just stopped using the app there. But I opened it, and it synced again, old threads flooding in. That's when I saw it, H. Just that. No full name. But the thread was still there. Most of the messages were wiped, but a few were missed. H, you taste like strawberries and lies. H, missed you this weekend. Room smelled like you for days. Ashley, stop. I'm trying to be good today. Mark's been attentive. I read that one twice. Trying to be good. Like her loyalty was a diet she kept cheating on. I screen recorded everything. Quiet. Cold. No confrontation. No trembling hands. Then I started digging into H. The thread had a photo, one he sent her. Face cropped, shirtless. Amateur shot. But there was a tattoo just under his left collarbone, an outline of a wolf. Black ink. I didn't recognize the body, but the tattoo. I'd seen that before. At a 4th of July barbecue 2 years back. A guy named Hudson. Friend of her cousin. Played minor league ball, washed out, now did some kind of crypto hustle. The kind of guy who wore sunglasses indoors and called women queen in Instagram comments. I pulled her cousin's Instagram. Found Hudson tagged 6 months ago at a bar in town. Same place as the receipt I'd found in her car. Same booth. Same damn wall art in the background as one of her selfies from that night. It was him. That's when the air in the room shifted. Because I realized this wasn't a random affair. This was someone from inside her circle. family adjacent. Close enough to avoid suspicion. Far enough to be dangerous. I didn't just want revenge anymore. I wanted precision. I started capturing more times, photos, linked evidence. Screenshots. Screen recordings. Voice memos of her half-asleep phone calls from the bathroom. And every time I added another file to the folder marked exit plan, I felt a little less married. A little less human. I wasn't angry. I was beyond it. What she didn't know was that I'd already seen a lawyer. Quietly. Set up accounts. Rerouted assets. Transferred titles. Moved a portion of my pay into a separate account under an LLC I created a year ago, just in case. That part was always a fantasy. Now it was real. I even crafted a script, the kind of email you don't send yet. You just draft. You shape. You sharpen. And when I hit send, it wouldn't go to her. It would go to the people who thought she was the devoted wife. Her family. Her clients. Her boss at the salon. Because I wasn't going to burn her. I was going to unmask her. In front of every person who believed in her little act. And when she tried to spin it, I'd hand them the proof. Silence is a weapon. And mine was almost ready to fire. I stopped thinking of her as my wife sometime between uploading the last screenshot and switching the joint savings account to solo access. The folder was ready. Labeled, for Mark only, it lived in a secure cloud backup under a boring file name, 2023_taxprep.zip. Inside, 93 files. Screenshots. Audio recordings. Synced messages. Duplicated receipts. Even a screen grab of her Notes app, where she'd saved a draft message, "I never meant to hurt you, but I can't lie to myself anymore." She never meant for me to see that one. But she didn't log out of her Apple ID when she borrowed my laptop for a wedding playlist. She was slipping. I'd made myself invisible long enough for her to forget I was still a threat. That's when I made contact, not with her. With him. Hudson. I used a burner profile. Blank face. No bio. Just a message. You might want to let Ashley know her husband knows everything. 5 minutes. That's all it took. His account went private. A few old photos vanished. One of him and Ashley, the one with her hand on his chest, cropped just enough to keep it ambiguous, disappeared completely. That told me 2 things. 1, he panicked. 2, he knew she was still married. There goes the emotional confusion defense. That weekend, I ran the last test. I told her I was going to a 2-day conference 2 towns over. Even packed a fake overnight bag and booked a room, just to cover the charge on our joint account. I left Friday morning. Parked a few blocks away. Watched her from inside my car. At 4:36 p.m., she left the house. Hair curled. Full face. Dressed like she was heading to a rooftop bar, not a Friday evening in the suburbs. She took an Uber. I tracked the drop-off point from the family iPad left behind on the kitchen counter, still signed in. Same rental suite as before. Same time window. She came back 3 hours later. Still glowing. Still humming a tune under her breath. Tossed her heels on the rug like she'd just won something. I waited till she was in the shower. Checked her phone. No passcode anymore. She'd grown overconfident. There it was, a full thread with Hudson. Ashley, he's pulling away. I think he knows something. Hudson, then we need to talk soon. Face to face. Before this blows up. Ashley, I don't want to lose everything. I still love parts of him. Just, not all. That was the final piece. She still loved parts of me. Like I was a buffet she could pick from. The safety. The income. The image. The dog we rescued 2 years ago that still slept on her side of the bed. But not the man. Not the soul. Not the marriage. She had carved me into conveniences. And I had carved her fate. Monday morning, I walked into the lawyer's office. Finalized the last batch of documents. Divorce papers. Financial transfers. NDAs for her to sign. A full asset separation plan that left me whole, and her right where she deserved to be. With nothing that wasn't hers. The timing was everything. I had something planned for Thursday. Her birthday. She invited friends. Family. A little dinner downtown. Reservations at a place she picked because the lighting was perfect for pictures. It would be the last time she ever saw herself as the woman in control. I'd prepped everything, the envelope, the email blasts, the timing. I wasn't going to raise my voice. I wasn't going to beg. She could keep the scarf, the lies, the cheap hotel room memories. But the life. That was mine. And it was about to be untouchable. Thursday night, 7:12 p.m. The restaurant buzzed with clinking glasses and surface-level laughter. Candles on every table, designed to hide the truth in warm flickers. Ashley sat at the head of the long table, radiant, dangerous, fake. She wore red. Not subtle. Not shy. It clung to her like a dare. The seat next to her was mine. I pulled it out, sat down, and smiled like a husband who still cared. Her friends were already 2 cocktails in. Her parents across the table, polite and oblivious. The waitress brought champagne. Ashley leaned over and whispered, "Thank you for doing this. I know things have been weird." I looked at her. Really looked. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're welcome," I said. "Let's make it a night to remember." I tapped my phone under the table. 7:15 p.m., send all. Emails, scheduled perfectly, fired out to her parents, her employer, her closest friends, and her cousin, the one who introduced her to Hudson in the first place. Subject line, Ashley. The full picture. No explanation. Just the zip file. Evidence curated with surgical care. No rage. Just fact. Timeline. Screenshots. Financial inconsistencies. A short letter addressed to each recipient. A quiet invitation to draw their own conclusions. One by one, the phones began to buzz around the table. Her cousin was the first to look down. Then her father. Then her friend Jenna, the one she always said was too nosy. The silence hit like a tidal shift. Ashley noticed. She glanced at me, then around. Confusion. Tension. That familiar calculating blink. Her father's hand lowered slowly. Phone screen still glowing. He looked at her. Brow tight. "Is this a joke?" he asked, voice low. "What?" she said, laughing too quickly. "What's a joke?" Her cousin didn't speak. Just stood and walked out. Then Jenna's husband stood. Pulled his chair back hard. The noise cracked across the floor like a shot. Ashley's voice trembled, just for a second. "Mark, what is this?" I didn't answer. Just watched. Her mother touched her arm. "Tell me this isn't real." Ashley's face broke, not in guilt, not in regret. In panic. The controlled kind. The kind of panic that tries to hold its shape in front of an audience. "I don't know what you've seen, but it's not. It's all time-stamped," her father said. "Every lie. Every place you said you were." Ashley turned to me, voice sharp now. "You ambushed me. On my birthday." I met her eyes. Let the weight land. "No," I said. "I ended it. You ambushed us a long time ago." She stood, shaky, but proud. Like she could still salvage something from the wreckage. "I can explain." I slid the envelope across the table. Thick. Legal. Final. Don't. Everything you say will be used to protect me. Your rights, your assets, even the NDA we both know you'll sign before you try to spin this. She didn't touch the envelope. "Where am I supposed to go tonight? Does he have a guest room?" I asked, loud enough for everyone still seated to hear. Her cheeks went white. Then red. The waitress returned, blinking at the tension. "Would anyone like dessert?" Ashley turned and walked out without answering. Her heels hit the floor hard. I watched the back of her red dress vanish into the hallway. Silence followed. Then Jenna leaned across the table and said, "She's been lying for months, hasn't she?" I nodded. Didn't flinch. "She just lost everything," Jenna added. I looked at the empty space beside me. "No," I said. "She lost me. She didn't go home that night. She didn't text. Didn't call." The silence was the first honest thing Ashley had given me in months. I didn't go home either, not right away. I stayed just long enough to pack the duffel bag I'd stashed weeks ago. Essentials only. Important documents. Flash drives. The deed transfer I'd already processed with the lawyer, house in my name. Utilities switched. Accounts locked. By the time she realized it, she wouldn't have a key that worked. Friday morning, I had a locksmith waiting outside the house at 6:45 a.m. By 7:10, the locks were changed. By 7:30, her access to every shared account was gone: bank, credit, utilities, even her salon scheduling system. She'd been using my laptop for months to manage client appointments. I reset every login. By 8 o'clock, I dropped her suitcase on her sister's front step. I didn't knock. Just left a note inside: "You're free now." So am I. I heard later she tried to show up at the house that afternoon. Tried her key twice. Didn't work. She pounded the door. Rang the bell. Screamed my name. I wasn't there. I was sitting in the lawyer's office, filing the last batch of paperwork. Dividing the pension, finalizing the divorce petition. The prenup clause, the one she forgot existed, made it clear: adultery nullified any spousal claim. She walked away with the things she came into this marriage with. Which, at this point, was almost nothing. Saturday afternoon, I got a call from her boss at the salon, Gina. She'd received the email packet too. Not from me. From one of Ashley's clients. Said it felt wrong not to forward it. Apparently, Ashley had told people I was emotionally neglectful. That she fell into someone else's arms after months of feeling invisible. The packet made that hard to maintain. Audio recordings don't lie. Especially the one where she said, "I like when you make me feel wild." Mark's just safe. She was fired. Not officially. Gina was smart. Just no hours available going forward. Reputation like that in a business built on trust. It doesn't recover. Not in a town this small. That night, she finally broke the silence. A message, not a call. "You really think you won?" I stared at the screen for a full minute before replying. "No. I just stopped losing." She didn't answer. The next day, Hudson posted a story, cryptic quote about loyalty, over a grainy shot of a whiskey glass. Comments off. Account private. By Monday, Ashley's social media was stripped bare. Bio deleted. Every photo of us gone. A digital erasure, like the last 6 years had never happened. But you can't scrub the past. Not the kind that's been catalogued, time-stamped, and quietly distributed to everyone who once believed in her version of events. I wasn't interested in revenge anymore. Revenge is loud. Messy. It gives people like her room to play victim. No, what I gave her was exposure. Clean. Surgical. The light she'd spent years avoiding. And now, she had to live in it. Every sideways glance. Every lost client. Every family gathering with questions that wouldn't go away. That's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just shatter love. It rewires your name in the mouths of everyone you once fooled. She used to say I was too quiet. Too still. Turns out, silence was the sharpest weapon I ever owned. The divorce finalized on a Monday. Rain fell in sheets against the courthouse windows, not dramatic, just relentless. The kind of weather that seeps into your bones without asking permission. She didn't show. Sent her attorney instead. A man in a cheap suit who didn't look me in the eye once. I signed the last page. Stood up. Didn't look back. By then, the house was already sold, quietly, off-market, clean deal. I'd boxed up the memories, donated the wedding album to a second-hand shop 2 towns over. Let some stranger flip through our smiles and imagine a story that never existed. The silence in my new place is real. Honest. The kind that doesn't hum with suspicion or cheap perfume. I kept the dog. Of course I did. He still sleeps on the left side of the bed, where her scent used to linger. Now it smells like nothing. Clean sheets. Open windows. Freedom. Word got around. Her cousin stopped responding to her texts. Her father issued a statement to the family, "We're supporting Ashley privately, but we do not condone the choices she made." Clients vanished. A few wrote reviews, nothing vulgar, just honest, unprofessional. Untrustworthy. Disappointing. In her line of work, reputation is currency. She lost that too. Hudson didn't last. He blocked her within a month. Someone told me he moved to Austin. Crypto fell apart. So did his interest. She tried reaching out once. One final email. No subject line. No greeting. Just a sentence. "Do you ever miss anything about us?" I stared at the blinking cursor for a long time. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted to make sure she understood what silence feels like on the other side. I closed the tab. Deleted the email. Emptied the trash. Didn't respond. Not out of pettiness, but because peace doesn't answer to the past. I don't miss her. I miss who I thought she was. The illusion. The mask. The version of her that said, "I'd never hurt you," and sounded like she meant it. But illusions don't get second chances. And snakes don't grow hearts, just newer, slicker skin. Now, when I walk past mirrors, I see a man again. Not a fool. Not a placeholder. Not a backup plan to someone else's desire. Just a man who burned the lies to the ground and walked out clean. She took my trust and fed it to a stranger. I took her power and buried it in daylight. And the best part? No one raised their voice. No one threw a punch. No one had to. Because the truth was heavy enough to crush her without a single sound.